So today's lesson is talking about linear and nonlinear systems. So everyone take out the notes, not the study guide. So find the one sheet that I gave you, take that out. So we're going to talk about a linear and a nonlinear system and how to find the solution. So where will a parabola and a line intersect? So when you look at this first example, how many times does that line go through the parabola?
Twice.
So it actually crosses it two different places. It crosses here and here. So that means that there are two solutions. And the solutions will be written as ordered pairs. When we write our solutions, we're going to write them as ordered pairs. X and Y, X and Y. So there will be two solutions for this first example. For the second example, notice that that line, it only touches it one time. So it 1 point. So it has one solution. And in your last example, notice that the functions do not intersect. They do not cross each other. And because of that this is an example of no solution. So we're going to do 3 examples today, and then we're going to start our homework. All right, so let's go ahead and flip it over. So when you're solving a system where one is a quadratic and one is linear, first thing you want to do is set them equal to each other. So we're going to take the x squared plus 2x plus 7 and set that equal to 6x plus 3. So let's do that. Set them equal to each other. That's step number 1. And then after you set them equal to each other, you will need to set the function equal to 0. See where it says that? So in order to do that, we're going to subtract 6x and subtract 3. So let's go ahead and do that. Set that equal. See what you get when you do that. So you get x squared, 2x minus 6x, negative 4x, thank you, and 7 minus 3, positive 4. So now we're ready to factor. So let's factor this down. In order to factor this quadratic, because a is 1, we can do a shortcut. We need two numbers that multiply to be 4 and add to negative 4. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to think about it. You want to pick up the handout. There's 2 handouts, one in the green tray and one in the red tray. So just hold on for a second. I want everybody to think about it because this is the hardest part of factoring. So just give me a thumbs up if you know the numbers. 2 numbers that multiply to be a positive 4 and add to a negative 4. Okay, Kenna, what are the numbers? Negative 2. So it's going to factor down to x minus 2 and x minus 2. So notice how this factored down to the same thing. So what this tells me is this is an example of where I only have one solution. There's only going to be one solution to this particular system. So let's figure out where that solution is. So to find your x value, take the x minus 2 and set that equal to 0. There's no need to solve the same equation twice because we're going to get the same number. Now, if this was different, and we're going to do a couple more examples, then I would set them both equal to 0. But for this one, we have the exact same thing. So if x minus 2 equals 0, then x equals 2. And the last step is to find y. So it says next, use your value for x to solve for y. And it's up to you if you want to use the one I highlighted in yellow or the one that I highlighted in pink. They will both give you the same y value, okay? I think the second one is a little easier, so I'm going to use the second one. So it's y equals 6 times x plus 3. X is 2. Take a moment, substitute that in, and get your y. So 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15. So you should get y equals 15. Who got y equals 15? All right, so that means that our solution, there's only one solution, and that solution is at 215. And that's what we just figured out. So the parabola and the line, they cross at one point, and that one point is 215. Now, this is the last piece of information that will be on your test. So let's look at number 1 at the bottom. So what I'm noticing is that this second equation is not solved for y. They both have to be solved for y. So what we're going to do is I want you to take that negative 10 and add it to the other side. So I'm going to take this. It moves across. So this equation becomes y equals positive 10x plus 5. So I'm going to take this 10x plus 5, and I'm going to set it equal to x squared plus 7x plus 5. So let's do that. All right, so that's our first step. Set them equal to each other. And now what are you going to do next? Set it equal to 0. Good. So you're going to subtract the 10x from 7x. And you're going to subtract the 5 from 5. So that's going to give you x squared minus 3x. And then this cancels out, and that equals 0. So notice that in this example, C is 0. Okay, so that means that we're not looking for two numbers that multiply and add. When you see a question like this, where it's C is 0, then what we're going to do is look for a greatest common factor. So what is the GCF? What can I factor out of these two? What's my greatest common factor of x squared minus 3x? 1x, or just x. So I'm going to take out the x. And when I take out the x, I'm left with an x minus 3. So we actually have, unlike this one where we had the same factor, our factors were x minus 2 and x minus 2. This time we have two different factors. So this is my first factor. So take that first factor, set that equal to 0. So x equals 0. And then my second factor is x minus 3. Set that equal to 0. So this one is already solved. But for the second one, we need to solve it for x. So if x minus 3 equals 0, what does x equal? Positive 3. Good job. Okay, so we have two solutions. So let me go ahead and set up my order pairs. But we need to find the y value. So for my first solution, x is 0. You can use either this equation, you can substitute 0 in the top equation, or you can substitute the 0 in the yellow equation. I think I'm going to use the yellow equation. So don't say it out loud, but use your calculators. Let's first find the y value when x is 0. So you're going to take 10 times 0 plus 5. See what you get. And for your second y value, it's 10 times 3 plus 5. So go ahead and find your two separate y values. So for your first solution, it would be 10 times, so if I take the 0, 10 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 5 is 5. So who got 0, 5 for their first solution? Okay, good. And your second one is 10 times 3 plus 5. What's 10 times 3 plus 5? 35. And that would be your two solutions. Those are your two solutions. So in this example, we have a parabola and we have a line. But this time, it actually crosses through at two places. It crosses at 0, 5, and it crosses again at 335. So that's what that means. So there's two solutions, two different places where the line crosses through the parabola. Okay, so I gotta clear off this space so I could do number 2. Does anyone need more time to copy down question number 1? Or more? Okay. All right, so let's look at question number 2. So for question number 2, we're going to start by solving this equation for y. So we have 4x minus y equals 8. So subtract 4x, bring that over. So that gives you negative y equals negative 4x plus 8. And now to solve for the y, we have to get rid of that -1. So divide every single term by -1. So we get y equals positive 4x minus 8. So now we're ready to set this 4x minus 8, set that equal to x squared minus 8x plus 12. So let's do that. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 12 equals 4x minus 8. So you have to set it equal to y, though, before you can set them equal to each other. What do you think we're going to do now? Set it equal to 0. So take a moment. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to try to set it equal to 0 and try to factor it. And then we'll come back together. Okay, so let's just get to the next step. So what did you do next? What was your next step? Who subtracted the 4x from the negative 8x? Who did that? Okay, so that's a good step. I agree with that. And then what about the negative 8? We have to add that because that's positive. And we're going to add that to the 12. Good job. So when you do that, you should have what? What does this give you? What's your quadratic over here? X squared minus 12x plus 20 equals 0. So who made it to that? Okay, good. So now this needs to be factored down. Okay, so we have an A, B, and a C. A is 1, which means we can do a shortcut. But you need to find two numbers that multiply to give you 20 and add to negative 12. They multiply to a positive 20 and add to a negative 12. So don't say it out loud. We're going to pause for a second. Give everybody a chance to think of those two numbers. It multiplies to be positive 20. It adds to negative 12. Okay, anybody figure out those numbers? That's kind of tricky. Who wants to tell me the numbers they got? Jacoby, what you get? What'd you say? Not 6. It has to be two numbers. Two numbers that multiply to be a positive 20 and add to negative 12. Alvaro. Negative 2 and negative 10. So let's talk about that. Negative 2 times negative 10 is a positive 20. If you multiply negative 2 times negative 10, you get positive 20. And if you take negative 2 plus negative 10, you get negative 12. Does that make sense? So now let's set both of these equal to 0 because we're going to have two. See how these are different? So that means we have two x-intercepts, or two, not x-intercepts, two places where they intersect each other. So let's set the first factor, x minus 2. Set that equal to 0. X minus 10. Set that equal to 0. So you get x equals positive 2. X equals positive 10. So I'm going to make my two ordered pairs for my two solutions. So my first solution is x equals 2. So now we need to find the y value. So we know that x equals 2 is one of my solutions. So let's figure out the y value. We can use the top equation that we solved for, or we can use the green. But I think this yellow one, that's a little easier. So let's take that 2, substitute it in here. So take 4 times 2 minus 8. See what you get. So what do you get when you take 4 times 2 minus 8? Who got 0? Who agrees? Okay, so 2, 0. That's my first solution. Now let's do the same thing with the 10. Take the 10, substitute it in here. 4 times 10 minus 8. 32. And that would be your two solutions. All right, so we have 15 minutes. I want to start the last homework assignment. Go ahead and copy down. So I passed out your grade sheets. A lot of you have many missing assignments. So this is only 4 plus 3, 7 questions. So take out a sheet of paper, write homework 21. Still got these 2 mystery homeworks in the front. I guess I'll throw them away. They don't have a home. They don't have a name. I don't know who they belong to. So go ahead and take out your review book. Go to page 203. Let me grab my review book actually. So if you look at question number 1, notice that they're already solved for each other. See how it just says y equals y equals? Does everyone see that? So let's just set them equal to each other. So take the x squared minus 5. Set that equal to x minus 3. Now we're going to solve it for 0. So I'm going to subtract the x, but there isn't a like term for me to subtract it from, so it's just going to move over. And I'm also going to add the 3, but I do have a like term on that side. So what you get is x squared. So we have x squared, and then we have the minus x. And negative 5 and 3, these are like terms. So what is negative 5 plus 3? Negative 2. Go ahead and factor that down. So you need 2 numbers that multiply to be negative 2 and add to negative 1. Go ahead and factor it down. So you always set them equal to each other, set them equal to 0, and factor. So what 2 numbers multiply to be negative 2 but add to negative 1? You said who? Positive 1 and negative 2. Who got that? All right, so now let's go ahead, solve them both. So if x plus 1 equals 0, that means my first solution is going to be at x equals negative 1. And there's 2 equations that you can use. You can use y equals x squared minus 5, or you can use y equals x minus 3. I think I always use the linear one. So let's use this one to find the y value. So I know that x equals negative 1. So negative 1. So substitute that negative 1 in one of these equations to find y. So pick one of these, substitute it in to find your y value. What did you get for your first y value? Negative 4. So negative 1, negative 4, that's my first solution. For your second solution, x equals 2. And so then 2 squared minus 5 is 4. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Who got negative 1? So those would be your two solutions, and that is what you would have to do. Okay, let's look at number 2. So again, set those equal to each other. Look at number 2. So these are my two answers right here. And that's all you have to do. So let's look at question number 2. For question number 2, you have y equals x minus 2 and y equals x squared minus 2. So I'm going to set them equal to each other. And then I'm going to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the x. I'm going to bring that over. And then I'm also going to add the 2. So we have 0 equals x squared minus x, and then this cancels out. So all you can do in this case, whenever c is 0, is look for a greatest common factor. What is my greatest common factor? 1x. So these are my two factors. Go ahead, set them both equal to 0. And then you should be able to finish it from there. After you get your x values, take those x values and substitute it back into one of those equations to get your y value. So just because we're almost out of time, can everybody look at numbers 36, 37, and 38 real quick in your book? Because those are the easiest of them all. All you're going to do, because they're graphed, is tell me where they intersect. So there's no work to do. So when you look at graph for number 36, how many times do those two parabolas cross each other? So give me the order pairs. Tell me where they intersect. So there's two different places. Tell me them both as an order pair. For 37, how many times do they cross each other? One. So tell me the one order pair. And for 38, what are you going to say? No solution. Okay. Enjoy your weekend. Start on the homework. Not homework, the study guide. If you put in the work, you will do well on the next test. And if you do well on the next test, you'll see your grade go up quite a bit. Enjoy your weekend.
You too.